Good morning and welcome to the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROI AM 1460, and online worldwide at WRUL.com. Cole Carter, Chris Myers with you, JC Tinsley, and Jovi Wagner across the hallway in the studio. Good to be back in the studio. First show of the 2024 season. And Chris, happy to have you in here this morning. Feels good to be back in the groove here of the football season.
It is great. I'm kind of like a kid on Christmas Eve. College football's in full swing. The high school got started last night. It's the best feeling, best time of the year for me.
And high school football in Illinois did start last night, and the Carmi White County Bulldogs are able to start the season off with a 36-20 win over a pretty tough Flora Wolves squad. And Chris, we were talking before we went on air that I was really impressed with how the Bulldogs came out in the second half and really showed they were the tougher team in that battle last night.
Absolutely. You know, it was an 8-6 game going into halftime, but you kind of had the sense that the Wolves were really starting to click on all cylinders on offense. They were really moving the football, missed a couple opportunities. One pass could have been a touchdown. They get the ball to start the third quarter, and they're just humming. They're winging the ball down the field, go down, put an impressive drive. They go up on the Bulldogs, and you're sitting there thinking, okay, what's our team made of? How are we going to respond to this? You know, a lot of new faces on both sides of the ball. First time they've been down the whole game, and, Flora looked really impressive on that drive. How do we recover? How do we respond? And they just answered the bell. And most importantly, the defense ended up making a huge stop, which we'll get to here in a second. But when that defense stepped up and made a huge play on fourth down, I thought the game really turned around at that point.
Rewind to the start of the ball game. Carmi got the ball first, and we didn't really know how things were going to look. Carmi moving things and changing things offensively, moving to that double wing, foot-to-foot offense that we saw for years from Fairfield and Johnson City. Madden Anderson, the new quarterback, a couple of the new faces in the backfield, and they put together an 8-minute drive, marched down the field and scored in the first quarter with 4:04 to go, a 6-yard run by Noah Pollard. And really for that opening drive, Chris, we pretty much saw that's what Carmi wants to do this year. They're not looking to score on one play like they did a couple years ago. It's not going to be a lot of big plays. It's 4 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards, and just move the ball down the field one play at a time.
And a lot of it's by design. I think it's a brilliant move by Coach Simon for this season, with this team. Looking at the numbers, obviously we don't have a lot of numbers. We got a lot of freshmen, but as far as sophomores through seniors, our numbers aren't strong at all. So that means you got to do things to, control the ball as much as you can. And this type of offense, that's exactly what it does. And, it's nothing fancy. It's nothing pretty. We like, if you watch TV today, you're seeing 4 or 5 wide, ball being winged down the field, 50 points a game. This isn't that style. But it complements his team very well, and you couldn't ask for a more textbook version of what you want out of that offense by getting the ball and controlling that for almost 8 minutes and going down the field in just 3 yards, 4 yards. Offensive line, the foot-to-foot splits, what that does, we talked about last night, that eliminates a lot of opportunities for gap penetration, for blitzing, by the defensive line and the linebackers. When your linemen are that close to each other, it's kind of a buddy system. You're helping each other out. You have constant double team help. So, I think, as I've said over the years, Kurt Simon always adjusts to his personnel. He knows this isn't a team that's going to be able to go 4 wide and spread the ball. And if you can't do that, you adjust. And I think they executed it flawlessly there that first drive.
Pollard did run the 2-point conversion as well, so the Bulldogs jumped out to an 8-0 lead, the 4:04 mark in the first quarter. It only took Flora about 5 minutes to score on their first drive, a 33-yard catch from Quentin Black. He was able to find a crease in the Bulldog defense, and the pass from Parker Helm. They did not convert the 2-point conversion, and that was the only score in the first half. We thought with both teams scoring on their first drive, okay, this might be first one to 40, but those first 2 scores, only points in the first half. And Chris, if I'm not mistaken, Carmi only had 2 possessions there in the first half because on their second drive, they drove the ball all the way down to the 5-yard line and couldn't get in.
Yeah, and that was kind of both teams mirrored each other in their own way. Flora, conversely, as Carmi was just doing everything on the ground, Flora was a spread attack. They're putting the ball through the air. So to their credit, they executed how they wanted to. But you're right, Cole, that the Bulldogs' only other drive of the half, they got down inside, inside the red zone. I believe we're down around the 5-yard line, if I'm not mistaken. But a penalty kind of set us back there, and we didn't get in the end zone. And then the very next drive, when Flora got the ball back, if I'm not mistaken, they had a situation where they had a receiver wide open, and it was just a drop pass that prevented 6 points. So really, both teams missed some golden opportunities to score again in the first half, and I think it kind of affected the way the game went in the second half.
So Carmi led at the break 8-6, but Flora got the ball to start the second half, and they marched right down the field, capping it off with a 3-yard run by Quentin Black. And they did convert the 2-point conversion as well to take, I got to do math here. They don't keep the score. 14-8, correct? Yeah, 14-8 there in the third quarter. But Carmi didn't panic. They scored a few minutes later on a 1-yard run by Cade Stockton. Pollard ran in the 2-point conversion to give the Bulldogs a 16-14 lead at that point. Chris, I was really impressed with how Cade Stockton ran the ball last night. You know, we kind of knew going into this offense, he's going to be a fullback guy. He's going to be blocking. And I thought he got more carries last night than I expected him to, and he took advantage every time he got the football.
He absolutely did. You know, we knew going into this season as well, you know, the feature back is going to be Pollard. You know, he's a heavy favorite to be an all-conference player without question. But Cade Stockton, his first time playing in the backfield, you know, and he's been seeing some varsity experience for almost 3 years now. He just absolutely put on a show last night. I thought, you know, I've said many times, the fullback is a very sacrificial position in the sport of football. You know, some people call it a glorified guard. So when a fullback gets an opportunity to carry the ball, they're taking advantage of it. And he just was dragging defenders, just relentless runs. I remember our first fourth down conversion attempt was him. It was a 4th and 1, and he got us 3 yards. And that's exactly what you want out of your fullback. You want that guy that you know is not breaking away a 50-yard touchdown run, but he's getting you the 4th and 2. He's coming around the edge and just, you know, knocking corners and linebackers on their hind ends when he's blocking them, you know, and he had that kind of game from that fullback position last night. I thought he was brilliant last night.
Stockton's touchdown gave the Bulldogs a 16-14 lead going into the fourth quarter, and the fourth quarter is where the Bulldog defense took over. 2 big fourth down stops against the Flora offense, 2 sacks on the fourth quarter as well. Josiah Perez had one, and then Cade Stockton had another. But Carmi was able to take advantage of those turnovers as well. Noah Pollard, a 2-yard touchdown run. Pollard again, a 3-yard touchdown run. They got one of those 2-point conversions, so it was still a 16-point lead with about 8 minutes to go. So Flora, they weren't out of it yet. They did get a quick score on the 50-yard catch and run, the screen pass. They missed the 2-point play that made it a 10-point lead, but Carmi got one more score from Stockton at the 6:44 mark to really put the nail in the coffin. But you look at that fourth quarter and really the third quarter, you know, 4 Carmi touchdowns compared to the 1 Flora touchdown. The Bulldogs able to score 28 points in the second half, and the defense held Florida only 14. That was a big difference, obviously, in the ball game.
Yeah, and I think it was that first defensive stop that really sparked the team because, quite honestly, you know, that whole second quarter and the first part of the third quarter, it was one of those games that we thought was turning into who's got the ball last because neither defense is going to stop the other offense. So when, you know, if you recall, Florida had it 3rd and 2, and they were moving, you know, and you're thinking, okay, this is going to be the drive. They get a false start penalty. That backs it up. Bulldogs stop them on 3rd and long, and then 4th down, Stockton comes through with the big sack. To me, that is the series that changed the game because once the defense got energized, you know, once they realized, okay, we can recover, we can stop these guys, that carries over to your offense, and Carmi really never really looked back. Made it interesting by you know, letting Flora get that score there, and you know, Flora just missed that conversion, just went off the shoulder, and then it would have been back to an 8-point game. Got real interesting, but to the Bulldogs' credit, you know, they put the hammer down after that series.
So the Bulldogs went on to win by a final of 36-20. They improved to 1-0 on the year and 1-0 in the Black Diamond Conference. Team stats from last night: the Bulldogs 346 rushing yards on the evening, and Flora just 37 rushing yards. And I thought really the biggest difference in the game that Flora was just not able to run the football. They threw the ball well, had 193 passing yards, but only 37 rushing yards, and that really credit goes to Carmi because every time they try to run between the tackles, the Bulldogs were there.
They absolutely stymied between the tackles. I mean, great performance, and it was a different look. It was a three down lineman, a 3-3-5 look. So with 3 down linemen, you're kind of at a disadvantage in a pass rush and scheme situation, So you're thinking, maybe Flores got some advantage running the ball there, but you're right, Cole. Between the tackles, they absolutely allowed nothing last night. They were great.
Had about 10 people text me, what was Noah's stats from last night? So, all right, listen up. Noah had 29 carries, 259 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. Cade Stockton, 14 carries, 59 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Cale Wiggins, 5 carries, 23 yards. Cade Allen had 3 carries for 6. Jazz Duckworth, 3 carries for 5 yards. And Branson Burnett had 1 carry for 2. But we were talking and said, I knew Noah was going to be around that maybe 190 mark on the evening, but 252 yards on the night. And he had 3 long runs, all 3 probably combined for at least 120 yards, I would say.
I was like you. I was thinking, he had a great night. I was thinking he's probably close to 180, 190. And then when I saw that afterwards, our brilliant statistician, Toby Brown, put this all together, by the way, as he does every year. When I saw that, my eyes kind of popped out. I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize it was that much. And then our total rushing yards, I was almost 350, getting near that 400 level. That was very impressive, and again, 3 of those we pointed out 3 times we thought he was going to break away, but Flora had a safety who was a lanky speedster, caught him all 3 times. He ended up finishing the deal the next play on 2 of those, but I was like, he kind of got robbed of one long touchdown run at least. So
Noah going for 252. It is the 3rd time in his career that he has rushed for over 200 yards. And this is, again, Toby Brown, and I appreciate him and his stat crew getting us all these stats. But, Chris, I'll ask you if you haven't seen it yet. Do you know who has the most career 200-yard rushing games in Bulldog history?
Right off my mind, I know which way
they wore number 1.
It has to be Isaac. It has to.
Well, you got 2 options: Logan Rogers.
All right,
or
that was
King.
my one. And I was like, it's got to be Isaac.
Isaac with 10 career 200-yard rushing games.
Man.
That's insane. But just a great night last night from Noah Pollard. Great job from the Bulldog offense and defense, especially in the second half. It was a great overall game to pull away with a Week 1 victory. And this is what head coach Kurt Simon had to say after the win last night. Being joined by head coach Kurt Simon. And, Coach, what a second half from your squad, beating a pretty tough Flora team tonight.
Yeah, I was very, very pleased. And when we knew this was going to be the kind of game it was, they had good, skilled kids. Quarterback was, capable of putting the ball on his receivers. Knew it was going to be really hot. We got a lot of inexperience. It's just a matter of don't turn the football over and outwork them. And I believe we got good enough backs where we're going to get yards, and it just played out the way we had, planned on it. So my hats are off to our kids. Our kids were really, went down at halftime, and they were tired. I said, oh, guess what, guys? They're just as tired as we are. So now the second half will really show your character. See what we got. What you work for. So.
And Coach, the thing for me on your offense, you returned a lot of experience. I'll just say you got an all-conference player, Noah Pollard, without question, in the backfield. But you had Cade Stockton, Cade Allen, Cale Wiggins. You got some seniors there at some speed. You got good skill positions here. They can't sleep on our skill position. But the thing was tonight, my question, you have 3 offensive linemen. You're centering both guards, first time playing varsity football. You got 1 senior in Bryant with the bulk of the experience. Dakota Southard played a few games just because he had to, injury. Yeah. You got a sophomore and a freshman at tight end.
Yeah.
And to me, their performance up front was what was so impressive. Talk about your line.
Yeah,
tonight.
Absolutely. And because of that inexperience and really a lot of inexperience up front, that's why we more foot to foot than we do our traditional wing or whatever, because we don't want a big splits. We got to take advantage of some double teams with these guys, and it's a matter of getting better every week now. But those guys for the first game, when you talk about your end, your tight ends in this time of an offense is a big deal. You know what I mean? Because we do so much blocking down, and you got to climb to the next level and all that kind of stuff. And when you got a freshman and a sophomore that have never played varsity football, they had a whale of a game tonight.
Yeah.
And so we just, I just told them we just okay. There's one. That's a real football game. Yeah. Real hot, real tired. Got to suck it up and go. And they did a great job. But so we just want to get better every week.
Yeah.
You mentioned your offensive line and Noah, but I thought the guys were able to mix back there in the backfield. Cade, Jazz, and Wiggy as well. All those guys did a good job hanging on to the football
They did.
and running hard tonight.
No question about it. I mean, again, in a game like this, again, with them having capability of big play capability offense, you better not give them an extra possession. So hang on to the football.
Right.
Don't give them that extra thing. And those guys, which are mostly seniors, did a great job tonight hanging on to the ball, protecting it. I don't think there was anything
No
real
turnovers,
close.
no fumbles.
And early in the game, we did what we figured we were going to have to do. You're going to have to take some chances and go on 4th and 2 every now and then to keep the ball away from the other team's offense. And, that's our philosophy this year, and you're going to see it again because we just feel like that is one of our better defenses is just using those seniors, that leadership, and running the football and trying to burn a bunch of clock.
And it was the old crossbuck. How many we converted? Were we 4 for 5 on 4th down?
I believe so.
And it was, the first one was back to the old T, 24 crossbuck. Most of them were just getting in the T and running basic football.
Yeah.
So I thought, obviously, that was a key for your team tonight. But talk about, at one point, we're talking up here in the booth, it looked like it was going to come down to a game where neither offense was going to, be stopped.
Yeah.
It was getting ready to look like, okay, they do it through the air, we're on the ground, but neither stopping neither.
Yeah.
How about that drive when we stopped? We got that big stop on 4th down.
Yeah.
They had it 3rd and 2. They jumped 3rd and 8, and then we get that sack on 4th down.
Yeah.
How huge was that for the momentum for your team?
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of times in the game that it's up, down, up, down, up, down. But and that was a big play. You didn't see anybody scoop and score tonight or a pick six or it was that because. Neither of us were really stopping the other one very well. Man, how many punts did we see tonight? Did we see any?
Maybe one. I think
one.
they punted
They
one
punted
time.
one time.
Yeah, they punted once.
That's what I mean. So that's kind of how the game went. So at some point in time, someone's going to make a big play like that and get them 4th and long or whatever. And that was huge. That was huge. I thought, we had to play a little bit different style defense than what we normally do.
Yeah.
Because of their, being able to throw the football. And so, Coach Wolf put it in this week, and we've ran it before, but we haven't really been running it that much. And it does put our guys in a little different position. But I really thought we got some pressure on the quarterback a little bit. We're stunting Stone up the middle. Let him try to get some pressure on him. And I just thought overall the kids they certainly played good enough to win. I'll give them credit. Their effort was very good.
I thought there was definitely some question marks given the week you guys had. It's a heat wave. You're going in at 6 a.m. One day gets rained out. Again, it's hot today, and I thought there was kind of some question marks of how you guys were going to be late in the ball game.
Yeah.
But there was definitely no question when that game was over.
And I'll give credit to the seniors for that. The seniors out there leading the charge. We talked about it all week, and every time we have a week like that, we talk about this stuff can't. Just because it gets you out of your routine, it can't make you not play well. You got to. Take what life's thrown at you and move forward and do what you got. What you got to do. And I just thought our kids responded to all that really well. I mean, we had 2 practices at 6 a.m. down the street, which obviously, Cole, you were out there. One of them got lightninged out or whatever, but we had everybody there. And they were the first Tuesday we had a great practice. Wednesday we got rained out or whatever, and then it's 150 degrees out there yesterday. And I mean, it was a difficult week, but it's a great week and it's a great teaching tool for all that inexperience that we're talking about. And you do have, we have 26 freshmen, which 8 of them are dressed down here, but everyone else is watching. I mean, it's a good learning experience to just, hey, we're not up by much at halftime. These guys can throw the ball. They get the ball coming out at half. You got to go to work, and you got to outwork them in the second half. And I just think, like I said, I'll give credit to our seniors. They led the charge, and that's what we did.
Yeah. When you guys go on the road next week at Hamilton County, I know you probably haven't seen much of them, but they're going to be a very improved and a physical team as well.
Absolutely. I mean, they played us very difficult last 8. I can't remember what the score was.
Like 16-6, something like that.
Yeah. And I think they were confident, after that game last year, and they got some guys returning. Most years, a lot of times, us and McLeansboro is a good game, us and Hamco. And, we again just have to get better, hang on to the ball, do what we do. We would expect a very similar game next week, I think. Anytime you have an inexperience like we do, every game is probably going to be a nail biter, And that's why it's just critical that you can't go from this week to next week and not get any better, because we're going to be starting to see better teams, and people are going to get better because they're getting in game shape. So we expect a very good, tough Hamilton County team next week, and we'll prepare for it.
All right, Coach, congrats on the win. We'll talk to you next
All
week.
right, thank you.
Congratulations, Coach.
That was head coach Kurt Simon last night after the Bulldogs defeated Flora 36-20. And, Chris, we touched on it last night. I promised Coach I wouldn't talk about it too much, but this being his 28th year, and it is his final year as head coach for the Bulldogs, and win number 160 for him. Great for him to get that Week 1 win here in his final season.
Yeah, in the back of his mind, and we know Kurt, he's not going to make it about him. He's probably just, it's a normal season. It's all about the kids. It's all about preparing them week to week, making them better football players, young men, and just putting them in positions to win games. But at the same time, as people, you and I have been around him in the program for years, knowing that after 28 years, it's going to be it. All good things come to an end at some point. But I know you hit it exactly. He's not going to make it about him. He's not focused on it. It'll hit him someday, but it was great to see his final opening night home game to get that victory.
And the Bulldogs win last night, final of 36-20. Looking around Southern Illinois, other scores from last night in Week 1 of high school football. El Dorado defeats Edwards County 22-20. Cesar-Valere defeats Hamilton County 22-6. Johnson City over CZR 62-0. Fairfield did not play last night. They received their Vienna-Goreville forfeit. Some non-conference games. Benton shuts out Carterville 41-0. Nashville over Carlisle 52-8. Chester over DuQuoin 35-27. Harrisburg shuts out Anna Jonesboro 47-0. They don't have the score, but I do know West Frankfort did defeat Massac County pretty handily. Carbondale with the last-second touchdown defeats Murfreesboro 36-33. Redbud over Pinckneyville 34-12. Centralia over Salem 42-35. Let's see. Gibson Southern defeated Mount Carmel 42-6. Olney over Taylorville 43-38. Casey Westfield shuts out Red Hill 24-0. And I believe that's all the relevant area scores. There are a couple of Saturday games going on today and tonight. All right, so we'll take our first break of the morning. When we get back, we'll have a volleyball recap as they begin their season earlier this week, and they're actually playing right now up at the Fairfield Preview Tournament. So we'll step aside for a first commercial break right here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROY, and AM 1460. All right, welcome back to the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROY, and AM 1460, and online worldwide at WRUL.com. Cole Carter, Chris Myers with you, Joby Wagner, and J.C. Tinsley across the hallway getting us on the air this morning. We recapped the Bulldogs' 36-20 win over Flora last night. We'll turn the attention over to the Lady Bulldog volleyball team. They have had a great start to their 2024 campaign. They actually, as of a few minutes ago, defeated Woodlawn in the first game of that Fairfield kickoff tournament. They played bright and early, 8:30 a.m., and they got the win over Woodlawn. Earlier, they will play Oblong, I believe. Actually, that's coming up at 9:30, I believe. So they're going to play again here soon against Oblong. Then they'll have Carbondale later on today at 1:30. Then that's all pool play. They'll have a place game later on tonight up at that Fairfield tournament. But 2 wins to start the season earlier this week on Monday and Tuesday. Monday, they traveled to Mount Carmel, a 2-set win, 25-10, 25-15, and then a thrilling, exciting 3-set win over a very good Edwards County squad at home on Tuesday, 25-18, 23-25, and 25-8. And Chris, we were just talking before we went on air, this is a Lady Bulldog team coming off the greatest season in school history, a 4th place finish in state. They lose one senior, and a very good senior in that, Amara Serafini, but this team is very deep, and Chris Lucas has got a very good squad and a lot of girls that can rotate in and a lot of different positions, and they're going to make some noise again in Southern Illinois.
Yeah, watching that the other night, that's one thing I noticed is how many players he's able to rotate in and out, and that Edwards County team was very up for the challenge, played very well those first 2 sets, but that 3rd set, the Lady Bulldogs just absolutely came alive, and it's what they did last year is just still so amazing. This town was just so energized, and just huge congratulations. That's another thing what Coach Lucas has done, with this volleyball program. I talked last night about there was a period where, our football program was kind of in a dormant state. Kurt Simon came and, has made football relevant, and Chris Lucas has done a fantastic job with volleyball, taking the fourth place finish at the state tournament. I mean, it was just a phenomenal season. And honestly, this year that they could do even greater things, because like you said, I mean, they're even deeper this year and got incredibly talented girls playing out there. And, it's kind of an ironic situation. They go from the Hunters. This year they're kind of the hunted.
Yep.
They're basically they're the top dog this year, and in the Black Diamond, and so they're going to kind of have to defend their crown. A little different position for them this year, but I think they're really up to that challenge.
You talk about being a deep team in volleyball. I mean, everybody knows Caroline Simmons. I mean, she is a Division I caliber player, and she's going to play at the collegiate level, no doubt. But and everybody goes in when they play Carmi, okay, find number 7 and take her out of the game. But what's different about this year is they've got Ashlyn Rager, they got Jaya Smith, Elena Johnson, Tori Ryder, girls that can also hit from the outside. That kind of takes all that pressure away from Simmons and makes it that much harder for teams to game plan against them.
Yeah, and and you talk about their defense too, Rager and Ryder and Johnson on the the double blocks, they call it. Forgive my poor terminology for volleyball, but they just got a lot of girls who can do some things, and absolutely Caroline Simmons is one of the most phenomenal talents volleyball wise that's ever came through the school. And you mix all those girls together, and they're just dynamic to watch.
So Lady Bulldogs, they played back on Tuesday, a 3-set win over Edwards County. Here is what Coach Lucas had to say after that 3-set win.
Exciting win, great way to open up the season. Black Diamond action. It had everything in the making, and it's a great 3-set win for you guys.
Yeah, we knew coming in that Edwards County was going to be a load, and they were. And, they're going to give people fits in 1A this year. And, they've got some outstanding athletes. They're big. They block well, but they get stuck in a couple rotations that they struggle in. And so I just told our girls early on, I said, we can't miss serves. We can't be doing uncharacteristic things in those rotations. If we do, and Goring gets back to the front row, and you got McCarty in there, I said, we could struggle, and that's what happened to us in the second set there for about 6 or 7 points. We're in a good spot. We miss a serve, and then we're not passing the ball very well. But Edwards County, don't get me wrong, they're gonna they gave us fits, and they're going to give lots of teams fits this year.
Well, it was a very impressive third set when everything's on the line. These girls, they've done it for 2 years, and it looks like they're going to do it again this year. When they wanted to put their foot down and take care of it, that's what they did. And really, Jaya Smith and Ashlyn Rager really took care of business in that third set for you.
Man, they're so good. The first 2 games we played, and we knew coming in that people are going to load up on Caroline on the outside, and they have. Both nights, the middles are basically playing 3 steps away, blocking from the outside. And so I challenged Rager and Tori both. I said, you guys are going to have to score for us this year. If not, we could struggle against teams that are big. And so, Rager has gone to a different level than even she was at last year, as far as not just putting balls down, but she places balls so well. And when you can do that, there's nothing the defense can do about it. And Jaya in the third set, she just took over. And she is probably the most athletic kid we have on our team. Just very unassuming personality, attitude out there, just kind of like I'm doing my business. But she was lights out. And Addie, of course, back there serving out. I don't even know how many points she scored in a row there. But, serving and blocking are going to be huge for us this year. And in the first and third set, we did both of those things really well. Second set, we kind of got off kilter there a little bit. But we have so many offensive weapons that if we pass the ball, we're going to be tough to beat. And we didn't serve receive very well in the second set, and that's what killed us. And so anyway, great start to the season, great conference win, huge crowd out here tonight, and now we get to go and jump right back into the fire Saturday with some really good teams at the Fairfield tournament.
Well, and again, just out of curiosity, when you come in here, you always have a plan of this is where I want to be going in. obviously you want to be undefeated going into your first weekend of the season and everything. Is the level where you think it was going to be, is it beyond it, or was there still things that we can still get to?
There are a lot. I mean, I'm a perfectionist, and there are lots of things we can do better and need to tweak. And and I was talking to Lauren a little bit about, I mean, she's the best setter in the South, in my opinion, but there are a couple of moments there whenever we're in certain situations that our kids have to know where balls need to go, especially our setter, and she knows that. And the thing about our kids is that I can jump in their rear end a little bit at timeouts and let them know that I'm not pleased with them, and then the next 10 points she's setting balls and putting balls exactly where she should. And that's the thing about these kids. They've been varsity starters for 3 or 4 years now, and so I really don't have to coach that much. Because, I mean, they pretty much know. They can look at the other side of the floor, know where the other hitters are, know where people are coming in serve receive, where they're going to hit, who they're going to go to. And when you've got that, I mean, it's a blessing. So I'd say, pretty good starts to the season, but, man, we still have a lot of things we could clean up. So.
All right, Chris, we appreciate the time. We wish you the best of luck at Fairfield on Saturday, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
All right, that was Chris Lucas after Tuesday's 3-set win over Edwards County. And as I mentioned, they did win their first match earlier today against Woodlawn at the Fairfield Lady Mule kickoff tournament. They should be playing any minute now against Oblong. So if we get a score before we get off the air, we'll be sure to share that one with you. They'll be back in action on Thursday. They host Gallatin County there at McDougal-Evers, and we'll have that one for you on the WRUL Sports YouTube channel if you can't make it there. Big shout out to Jason Craig, helping me out with these volleyball matches. Longtime coach, longtime broadcaster. My volleyball knowledge is getting better, I will say, and that's a thanks to Jason, but he's helping me out with these games, and really appreciate it. He knows a lot about the game. He coached for a long time, and he's a big help.
Yeah, you're doing great. I think I was just saying off air, I was like, I would sound like a complete fool if I tried to talk about volleyball, but having Jason there, that longtime volleyball coach, like you said, he does a great job, as do you always. So,
well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. So, hey, with that, we'll go ahead and take a look at the Carmi-White County athletic schedule for the rest, or for next week. Junior Pro Football is also in action today. They are at Edwards County. That first game kicked off about 10 minutes ago. So, good luck to them today in Albion. On Monday, the JV football team will begin their season. They are at Flora in the Labor Day special. That's 11 o'clock kickoff up there in Flora for the JV Bulldogs. On Tuesday, the boys and girls golf teams host Waltonville, and the girls tennis will play their first match as they host Mount Carmel. Then junior high softball will travel to Crab Orchard on Tuesday. On Wednesday, boys and girls golf will host El Dorado. Junior high baseball and softball will host Albion. On Thursday, girls tennis travels to Mount Vernon. Junior high baseball and softball will host Benton, and volleyball will host Gallatin County. On Friday, the boys golf team will travel to Olney, and then the Bulldog football team travels to Hamilton County. And then next Saturday, Junior Pro will host Hamilton County, and Junior High Softball will take part, or they will host their own Carmi tournament. So that is the CWC athletic calendar for the next incoming week. And do recommend fans, if you want to stay up to date on what's going on in Carmi athletics, download the Event Link app. I know both Coach Simon, Coach Mason, our athletic directors, they constantly keep those up to date with schedules, and you can even keep track of practices if you have a kid playing a sport. That's the Event Link app. It's a black and green app in the App Store. Great way to keep up to date with scores and schedules for our athletic sports teams here in Carmi. So we'll take our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll have our Terrible 10 Pick'em, and we'll wrap things up here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROY, AM 1460. Welcome back to the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROY, AM 1460, and online worldwide at WRUL.com. Cole Carter, Chris Myers with you. Joby Wagner, J.C. Tinsley across the hall in the studio getting us on the air this morning. Reminder of our broadcast schedule for the upcoming week. We will have the Lady Bulldog volleyball match on Thursday as they host Gallatin County over on the WRUL Sports YouTube channel. And then next Friday, we'll travel to Hamilton County as the Bulldog football team takes on the Foxes. Then me and Chris will be back here next Saturday morning. All right, it's time for our Terrible 10 Pick'ems. I'm hoping for better luck this year, not only against Chris, but against Travis this winter. 2023 was not a good year for me in my pick'ems, but I've got faith. It's a new year, new me. Let's win some picks. So we've got 4 college games going on this afternoon, then 5 more college games that we're going to decide if those teams can cover the spread, and then looking ahead to Thursday for the NFL kickoff game. So, Chris, we'll start with that NFL game next Thursday. The Baltimore Ravens take on the back-to-back defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. Who do you got?
Well, the Chiefs have a tendency to be a little sluggish early in the year. Yes, I'm still bitter from last.
I forgot about that.
Last winter
got your
when the
Niners
49ers had a lead once again. Fumble. I don't want to get into it. So the Chiefs once again just stabbed me right through the heart. But they're at home. Just for that simple fact that they're at home, Thursday night game, I'll give them a slight edge. I think they win by maybe a field goal.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it'll be a great game. It's great scheduling by the NFL to put those two battling each other in week 1, but I will take Kansas City winning that one and a close one as well. All right, some interesting college games kicking off here in a couple hours. First one, number 14 Clemson at number 1 Georgia. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs here to win this one.
I'm going to do the same. I think Georgia's just going to be a load this year.
Yep.
Obviously ranked number 1 for a reason. Kirby Smart, in my opinion, is the next Nick Saban. He's building a dynasty there. With Saban out, it makes the SEC a lot more interesting, but I think Georgia, at the end of the day, is going to take that one.
Number 8, Penn State traveling to face West Virginia. I'll let you pick first here.
Well, that can always be considered a trap game because, that used to be somewhat of a rivalry, Penn State when they're an independent, but I'll go ahead and give Penn State the edge. I'll stick with status quo. They're the higher-ranked team and go with Penn State.
I will also go with the Nittany Lions on this one. Number 19, Miami travels to Florida to face the Gators. Florida, I think, has the toughest schedule in college football this year. If you look at their SEC slate and their non-conference slate as well. There's always a couple of upsets in week 1. I'll take Florida. I think Florida, it's a 2.5-point spread. I will take Florida pulling the upset here.
You actually read my mind there, Cole. I was thinking the same thing with you. Florida and the Swamp, they're a different team at home. So.
All right. And then, a big one tonight. Number 7, Notre Dame travels to number 24, Texas A&M. The Aggies are favored by 3. I'll let you pick first here.
Well, they do have a new coach. Elko came over from Duke. Elko was formerly a defensive coordinator at A&M, so he's back home. That program's going to have some energy after they paid Jimbo Fisher about $2 billion and now Jimbo gets to take that money and sit at home. Anyway, I digress there. I think I'm going to have to lean with the experts there. I think, even though Notre Dame's ranked number 7, you start at Texas A&M week 1, new coach. They're going to be that place, the 12th man, I guess they call it there. That's a tough place to play. I'm going to go ahead and give the edge to A&M. I'm going to go with you and take A&M.
So I'm going to go with the Irish here. Yeah. They got a new quarterback, Riley Leonard, moving over from Duke. They're bringing back a lot of their players from last year. I think Notre Dame, this is going to be the year where they might be able, and with the 12-team playoff, they should be able to get in, I think. I think it's going to be a big year for the Irish. I'm going Notre Dame here.
What's interesting, too, actually, Mike Elko was Riley Leonard's coach last year.
Yes,
coach of A&M, so now they're opposing each other. It'll be very interesting.
All right, so for these next 5 games, we are going to decide if these teams are going to cover the spread. So week 1 college football, you get a couple of interesting matchups like the first 4 we talked about, but then it's a lot of big schools facing smaller schools to get an easy win to start off the season. So with that being said, Tennessee, they host Chattanooga, and the spread is 38.5. Chris, do you think the Volunteers cover that spread?
I think they can. I think they barely cover that spread.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and give it to them.
You'll say yes. 38.5. It's a lot of points. Tennessee is. I didn't write down the ranking. I think they're ranked
10?
top 10, I believe.
Yeah.
So 38.5. I will say yes. I think Tennessee will cover the spread there against Chattanooga. Akron at Ohio State. Buckeyes should be pretty darn good this year. Spread is 48.5. That's a lot. That is a lot. I'm going to say Akron is able to cover that 48.5. They're going to. I'll say Ohio State will win 45-0. But 48.5, that's a bit much. I'm going to say they will not cover.
I agree there. I'd say no. And it's week one. Every offense can be just a little off on their timing. I would say I agree with you, Cole. They don't cover that spread.
So number 4, Texas, they host Colorado State. The spread is 32.5. That's not as bad. Texas, they're saying they're going to be pretty darn good this year as well. I do think Texas will cover that spread.
I will go against that.
Okay.
Colorado State, even though they haven't been a power, is a little better opponent than playing like an FCS, FBS, whatever. I would say Texas wins it by 28. They don't cover any spread.
All right. Western Kentucky is at Alabama. Of course, a new era for Alabama. No more Nick Saban. The spread is 31.5. I will say Bama will cover the spread here.
I will be obstinate once again and say no. I say they'll win it by about maybe 3 scores.
All right.
They don't cover the spread.
And then our last pick of the day, Idaho is at Oregon, another team they're saying will be in a national championship contention spot. Spread is 43.5.
I will say yes on that
You're
one.
gonna say yes?
Oregon's
You're
one
an
of
Oregon
those,
guy, aren't you?
Well,
A little
they're
bit?
not really, but I know that's out west. They're a pinball machine type offense, so they lit up the scoreboard last year. So I'd say they cover that spread.
Yeah. Against an FCS school, I will agree with you there. I will say they cover the spread. So, all right, there's our terrible 10 pick'ems for week 1 of the college football season that starts here in about an hour. I'm going to have about 3 TVs set up in my living room. I'm going to sit in my recliner and not move all day. So, Whitney, if you're listening at home, I apologize. I'm not going to do much laundry or dishes today. We're watching college football. It's week 1, baby.
There will be no honey-do list today. It is honey sitting in the chair.
That's right. Well, it's good to be back in the studio. Good to be back in the rhythm of football season. And again, a great win last night for the Bulldogs. Lady Bulldog volleyball team looking dominant. Hope they continue to do well today up at the Fairfield kickoff tournament. But Chris, good to be back and get things rocking and rolling this year.
It is great. It's a pleasure to be back here. Love doing this with you, Cole. It's a great time. Enjoy it, and just a great time of year. School gets back into swing. Fall sports seems like after the first football game, things just take off for all the kids, 100 miles an hour. Wish all the kids in all fall sports well. Cross country, golf, tennis, football, volleyball. Every kid in every sport, we wish you all the best and just hope you have a great season.
Absolutely. Well, let's get to wrap things up for us here at the station. Big thanks to Joby Wagner and J.C. Tinsley across the hallway getting us on the air. For Chris Myers, I'm Cole Carter. Thanks for listening to the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROI, AM 1460. Have a great weekend.